Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Stanisci, and thank you for showing up. I'm glad you're watching. For those of you that are watching, please watch all the shows we do. You might like them all. This one might just be the beginning of a good thing. And speaking of good things, the one and only Aaron William Freeland is joining me. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
Good. Let's welcome the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. And don't forget, you can watch our programming on Candid, Frank, Stanisci, the YouTube channel. Yeah. And so this is it. This is Leaf Talk. Leafs survived. They turned this into a best 3 out of 5. Um, wow. I mean, that game was amazing.
That game had everything that you wanted out of a playoff game for sure.
It
Drama,
even it,
high intensity.
never mind. You paused. Continue. I was
They,
jumping on your pregnant pause.
the first time in NHL history that two 60-goal scorers have fought in a playoff game. So,
One voluntarily, the other not so much.
it's funny. Austin Matthews was picking up sticks and moving them out of the way so that players wouldn't trip over them while they were involved in the scrum of the corner. While he's doing that, Steven Stamkos, who is being restrained by the referee with one glove already off, skates over, grabs Austin Matthews, and starts punching him in the face while the referee who's calling the penalty on the Tampa Bay Lightning is still trying to restrain him. And yet, Austin Matthews only has one glove on and gets called for 5 minutes for fighting. And Stamkos, who very clearly was the instigator, only got 5 minutes as well. The only reason they actually got a power play out of all of that is because they called some extra shenanigans on Marner from Darren Radish. I go figure. I, you know,
you know, it's getting to a point, Aaron, where it's not a question of the officiating is inconsistent. It's a question that it's becoming very consistent,
and
but
of
not
all
in
of
a
the
good way if you're
shenanigans,
a Leaf fan.
of all of the shenanigans in that game, the only result to come out of that huge fracas in the corner after Riley and Point were jockeying for position was a fine of $3,108.11 to Lafferty of the Toronto Maple Leafs for a cross check to the face of Ross Colton in front of Toronto's goal, which, if you saw the expression on Colton's face, was a masterful sell job. Um, McCabe got plowed from behind by Maroon.
He
Uh,
bent his back in half.
oh, I just now the argument from
That's
players.
not cross checking, but doing this with your hand and not touching the guy, that's cross checking.
Well, according to player safety, that was ruled a hockey play because McCabe, turned his back at the last second, thus making contact from behind unavoidable. Not taking into account the fact that Maroon had taken approximately 17 strides from
And did this.
his own bench all the way across the ice to hit him. I just
If you look at a dictionary for the definition of cross checking, that kind of fits in. It kind of is part of part of the equation. Now, listen, it's getting so easy to defend the Leafs and to call the officiating disgustingly poor. The evidence is just being, it's just being compounded. It's just ridiculous. On that play that you referred to, you're 100% right that Stamkos should have got the instigator penalty. I don't think anybody can say that there was any kind of altercation that would have led directly, and I say directly, between Austin Matthews and anyone to afford Stamkos the opportunity to get some free punches on on Austin Matthews. I know this sounds like defending the Maple Leafs, but unfortunately, you know what, folks? Enough is enough. You guys, you hate Toronto? Go ahead, hate Toronto. It's enough. It's enough. I mean, come on. I know there are, in Toronto, when it comes to the Maple Leafs, Aaron, do you think this is pretty? You're the wrong guy to ask, but I'm going
Probably.
to ask you anyway. I'm going to ask you anyway. Would it be fair to say that there's a love hate relationship with nothing in between when it comes to the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, you're never really
Love
kind of
hate,
a fan of
love
the Maple
hate.
Leafs. You're either fully on board with the Maple Leafs or you hate them with the fire of 1,000 suns. There really is no two ways about it. It's
Well,
unfortunate.
I considered myself in the middle, and I've never been a yes man for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, you know what I've said and what I've done in the past, and I've said and what I've done in the past out of total lack of bias. Not that I hated them or anything, and I think for me, I'm proud of the fact that the criticism that I leveled at Dubas and the Toronto Maple Leafs was criticism that they have since given me reason to say, if I'm a reasonable person, if I'm going to criticize somebody about something and then they turn around and do correct what I think was wrong, I'm sorry. I just have to give them that credit. They did what I said. They have to have guys in the playoffs that don't take crap. You know, a guy like Luke Shen, he's the definition of what I've been saying for years, ever since Dubas took over. Luke Shen did not have to fight anybody. Just the fact that he was standing between the benches was enough of a creation of pacification, right? That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about having an arms race. I'm talking about, defensive interaction that discourages the kind of behavior that literally over the past few playoffs has destroyed the Maple Leafs. They have been physically intimidated over the years. We see, and it's still there. Look at Matthews. Did he look like a guy who knows how to fight at all? I mean, did you see the punches?
Matthews is a player with two surgically repaired wrists. If anybody thinks that there's any chance of him actually fighting, you're out to lunch. Now, I do want to say, Tampa Bay fans, if I were you, I would be upset as well. There were calls that were not made against the Maple Leafs that maybe should have, in the same way that there were calls against Tampa Bay that weren't made that maybe should have been. The refereeing, the officiating has been horrible on both sides of the coin. So it's not
So what you're saying, it was a question of there were no officials. In fact, there was only unofficials.
pretty much.
It was
And
unofficiated.
during overtime, I think the referees don't get paid because they very clearly didn't show up.
It's always been said, and it's my fervent belief. And when I say fervent, I mean, if there's a better word, throw that in. Consistency. Officials need to be consistent. When doing this to a guy's back and forcing that guy's back to be like that is not a penalty, and taking a hand that sticks here and a hand here and pushing the guy with your hand, and that's cross-checking. No, it's very inconsistent. We can argue about whether it's siding with the Leafs or not. I just maintain, and I believe with my whole heart and brain, that if the officiating is done correctly, the Leaf power play, if the Leaf power play is the power play it seemed to be in the first game and did to a degree be in the second game, Tampa doesn't stand a chance. And that to me is part of the injustice, where the inconsistencies is punishing one team over another. So that's just the way it goes. But they make it so easy. The National Hockey League and the officials make it so easy to criticize them. It's so obvious, it's disgusting, and it's pathetic. Really, it truly is pathetic.
There is one thing that I would like to point out, and this is a rule change that was instituted this year that is actually, as far as I'm concerned, being used correctly. The initial call on Riley after he was fighting for his position with Point going into the boards was a 5-minute major. This allowed the referees to review the footage and get the call right. And the correct call was no penalty for that.
Well,
It was an unfortunate hockey play. And, it happened in that dead zone about 3 to 6 feet from the boards. That's where a lot of things can go wrong, and a lot of injuries can happen because you're too far away to just sort of
That
lean
couldn't
on
be
the board.
called boarding. That when that was called boarding, that was ludicrous.
Yeah,
Because
and I'm
because
glad they
he
did
fell
though.
down at his feet, and the reason he hit the boards is because he lost his balance and slid towards the boards. And he slid a good 4 or 5 feet. So it wasn't those ones where he gets cross-checked and a foot before the boards, he starts to go down. He was down 5, 6 feet before he got to the boards. He slid the rest of the way. But still, it's a dangerous play. Thank goodness he wasn't, hurt badly. We're all grateful for that. And the other thing is, as much as I'm making fun of the officials, which I said is easy to do, the game has been able to rise above the officiating. Thankfully, the game rose above the officiating. That's how good a game it was that you could turn around and go, okay, those stupid calls, they can go to bed. They go, let's watch the game. There's a lot going on here, and let's check it out. It was a game that either team could have won, but I got to tell you, over the past few years and in the playoffs, in overtime. The Leafs have dominated teams. If you remember the Montreal series, every game that Montreal won in overtime, the Leafs dominated. And then, then there was just a 2-on-1 going the other way because of a great goaltending or a great defensive play. This was kind of payback a little bit. The hockey gods kind of said, you know what, Leafs, you guys keep getting screwed this way. Let's give you this one. You guys have earned one of these. And Tampa had Toronto on the ropes. And Samsonov came to the rescue. He's played the kind of goal I told you I believed he could play, and he's doing a great job of it. And he looks fantastic in the goal. Yeah, he's made the odd mistake. But, Grant Fuhr used to make a pair of mistakes, but he didn't make the ones that killed the team. He made ones that might have hurt the team, but never killed the team.
And I'll be level with you here, Frank. Watching the entire game, the Leafs very much did not deserve to win that game.
They
And
sure didn't.
you look at any game in the past 4 or 5 years, they if they come up in that situation again, they do not win that game. This particular instance here, however, yeah, I think the cocky gods may have looked down and taken a little pity and sort of nudged it in the right direction for us because uh, O'Reilly tying it up, then Riley instigating a
A
line brawl on the ice,
situation.
and then O'Reilly feeding Riley for the final goal. I think was absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And then, hey, listen, and after that goal, the fans were really riled. They were riled completely about that. That game was one that Leaf fans truly enjoyed. It. Now it's a 3-game series. The Leafs have home ice advantage once again. It continues tonight, and I got to say the thing I look forward to in this game is to see how the Leaf leadership, and I'm not referring to the season A's because there really isn't the kind of leadership the Leafs need wearing a C or an A. No offense to those 3 players. I think very highly of them. I feel very highly about Matthews. I've talked to him about his defensive commitment. And of course, Marner's been in this series, he's been Marner, which is really important. And look at what Tavares has done. But there is a characteristic they don't have. They lack the ability to push back. We saw Austin Matthews try, not too good. And we know we don't see Marner. Marner doesn't get involved in that stuff. He disappears immediately. And I don't blame him. And then, of course, Tavares does try. We've seen him try, but it's just not his bailiwick. It's just not what he does. And
yeah.
so today's game at home, the Maple Leafs, usually we talk about the home team putting pressure on the visiting team. I think tonight is going to be one of those oddities where the team on the road is going to be putting a lot of pressure on the team at home early in this game because I do believe that Tampa knows they have more to lose with a slow start than the Leafs do.
No, they definitely do, and they can't afford to not start on time. And again, game time puck drop at Emily is 7:30. I do hope that the players have been made aware of this because starting on time would be a wonderful thing. And the more pressure that we can put on Tampa Bay in their home rink early, the better. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this game will determine. It really will determine. It may create a trajectory for the Toronto Maple Leafs to eliminate the ugliest ghost that they have in their heads. and that is the inability to close out a series where they're leading by more than one game. In other words, in this case, if they could win this game, they'll have a 3-1 lead. They've been in this position before. They've been in a 3-2 lead situation. They've ended up in a seventh game situation and have been unable to close a team out. This is the pre-closeout game, if I can use that. Can the Leafs show us that they've been able to learn what it takes to take a team out? And tonight's going to be the first step in determining that.
Yeah, the one of the major issues that they have had is just that. It's their, well, if we lose this game, there's always next game. Well, if we lose this game, there's always next game. Oh no, we've lost this game. We've only got one game left to do it. Oh my God, the nerves kick in, everything falls apart.
They've got to go 2 for 2.
The
They've got to
sooner
win.
you
First of
close
all, they
this
got to
out,
win this game.
the sooner you close it out, the more of a break you have before you have to play the Bruins.
Well, the less chance you have to
I'm
screw
just
it up
saying.
in Game 7.
Yeah, but also
that's what
the
they
more
need.
games you have to rest before you face the Bruins. I'm just saying, boys. Think about it.
Well, hey, and I want people to understand this. I really don't care. It's not because of the Leafs I want to see them move on. It's because I want to do a couple more hockey shows.
Oh, most definitely.
Total selfishness.
At the end of this season, once this is all over, what do we transition to on Fridays?
Blue Jays, they seem to be okay.
Yeah.
Mind you, we could do probably a half hour on Lemon and Carlson being let go on the same day.
That, you know what?
How's that for ironic?
Easily do that.
How's that for ironic?
And, you know,
the left of the left and the right of the right got canned. The middle is celebrating today.
Well, it's a week after the Dominion settlement for Fox. That's $787.5 million that they were out of pocket. He was one of the most consistent spreaders of election conspiracy theories, which led to Fox having to pay $787.5 million in the first place. Don Lemon was a bit more of a surprise. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but allegations of
it took longer than I thought, Aaron. It took longer than I thought, Aaron. He should have been gone a long time ago. Yeah, he should have been gone a long time ago. He basically, if it wasn't for the fact that who he is and what he represents, he would have been gone a lot sooner. Some of the stuff that he did and some of the stuff that was attributed to him for the way he behaved and some of the stuff that he said during a broadcast would have gotten anyone else farther from the left eliminated immediately. There wouldn't have been a hesitation. That he, he made a mistake. And I've always said this to you, Aaron, and this is, I believe it for him too. The guy made a mistake. I don't think there's anything evil about the guy. I don't think there's anything that causes anyone to think that this guy doesn't deserve to be on CNN or he should be fired. But unfortunately, the knives are out there. The long knives are waiting for someone to make a mistake, and he made a mistake. And I think he's paid the price that unfortunately today you pay for making that kind of mistake. He made a sexist remark. He survived quite a few weeks since. It's been about a month and a half since he did that. And he just, unfortunately, he didn't fit the position of being the thorn between two roses at this time.
And another thing I think that factored into it was his appearance on New Year's Eve, in which he was particularly inebriated. Add on top of that allegations from other female employees of certain past behaviors coming forward that didn't help his case as well. So, it was only a matter of time, I guess.
And Tucker Carlson had same thing, but for him it wasn't as well known. And there's a young lady that former producer now that I think she's going to be on MSNBC. If she isn't on already, she'll be on in a short time, and she'll be discussing her lawsuit against Fox News. And here we go again. Fox News has a terrible reputation of having employees, on-air folks that are misogynistic. That are abusive verbally, and he's being thought, I'm not saying he is, but that's what the word is that he has not been a very nice guy to be around. And, as far as watching him, he says some things that are horrifying. And the one question that comes up, what happens to all those Jan 6 security tapes? 40 hours worth of them he has. Will Fox make sure they stay within Fox and then get returned, to the Capitol?
Again, you never know. And here's I think the funniest part in all of this. The one person who you would expect to have had the shortest shelf life when it comes to hosts of news shows and major talking faces for news organizations, Rachel Maddow is still on the air. So there's that we have to go with
She's
as well.
down. She's down to one show a week, and or her special appearances during special occasions and such. Yeah, I like her. I like her. She's all right. She's somebody who on the left side speaks about stuff that hardly anybody else is talking about. Her value to MSNBC is the fact that she is so different, and of course, she now most of what she does is I think it's called Ultra is her podcast, and she does some very in depth things. Interesting. She speaks to the present by talking about the past.
And you know, it's a rather unique perspective, and I'm glad that she is still around. So at least there's that.
Leafs tonight.
Leafs tonight.
What do you got as a score?
What do I got as a score? I got 5-3 Tampa Bay.
So you got Tampa Bay winning.
I got pushback from the Lightning on this one. Yep. How about yourself?
Me, I'm going to say 6-4 Toronto.
And I only say 5-3 Tampa Bay because we can't have nice things.
Aaron. So typically a Maple Leaf fan. Thanks for doing this, buddy. You're the best.
Thanks a lot, Frank. We'll see you on Wednesday.
He really is the best, and we will see you on Wednesday. So the end of the show it is. And what the heck's going on here? My computer's just decided to say, well, shame on you. Let's see. Oh, no, it's working. All right. Thanks, Aaron. For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Lives. Leaf Talk, seen live Fridays and now Mondays and Wednesdays because the Leafs are in the playoffs. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Leaf Talk, other news, sports, entertainment programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, and think it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, Candid Frank Stanisci, 10:30 on YouTube. See you next time.